You're floating in warm, shallow coastal waters. The year is 39 million years ago, during the late Eocene epoch. The water around you is murky, filled with sediment stirred up from the ocean floor. You can barely see 3 feet ahead. Then, you feel it. Disturbance in the water. Something massive is moving beneath you. Suddenly, the water explodes upward. Rising from the depths is a creature so enormous that your mind struggles to comprehend its scale. This is Prerucetus Colossus, the largest whale that ever existed, and quite possibly the heaviest animal in Earth's entire history. What happens next could rewrite everything you thought you knew about survival in the ancient oceans. Before we dive deeper into this incredible scenario, imagine being one of the first people to learn about this discovery. If you're fascinated by prehistoric giants and want to explore more incredible what-if scenarios, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. Let's start with what we know. In 2023, scientists published a groundbreaking study about fossil remains discovered in the Ica Valley of southern Peru. Paleontologist Mario Urbina Schmidt found the first vertebra more than a decade earlier, but it took years of grueling excavation to extract the complete specimen from the hard rock embedded deep within a mountain core. What they found changed everything we thought we knew about the limits of animal size. The partial skeleton consisted of 13 vertebrae, 4 ribs, and a hip bone. The estimated length? Between 17 and 20 meters, roughly 56 to 66 feet. Now, you might think that's impressive, but not extraordinary. After all, modern blue whales can reach 25 meters or more. But here's where Perucetus colossus earns its name. This ancient whale didn't break records for length. It shattered them for sheer mass. Scientists estimate that Perucetus colossus weighed between 85 and 340 metric tons. To put that in perspective, it potentially weighed 2 to 3 times more than a blue whale. That's the equivalent of almost 2 blue whales, 3 Argentinosaurus dinosaurs, more than 30 African elephants, or approximately 5,000 adult humans. You could fit the weight of your entire neighborhood inside this single creature. The secret to this incredible mass lies in the bones themselves. When researchers drilled core samples from the fossils, they discovered something unprecedented. The bones of Perucetus colossus were extraordinarily dense and compact, exhibiting a condition called pachyosteosclerosis. This extreme bone thickening and weight is found in modern sirenians like manatees and dugongs, but in no living whale species. Each vertebra was so heavy that it required multiple people and specialized equipment just to move. This brings us back to you, floating in that ancient ocean. As this living mountain of flesh and bone approaches, you need to understand what you're actually facing. So what would really happen if Perucetus colossus tried to swallow you whole? First, let's talk about how this whale moved. Due to its enormous body mass, Perucetus probably swam very slowly. Its swimming style was undulatory and anguilliform, meaning its flexible body moved in curved waves from head to tail, similar to how an eel moves through water. This wasn't a fast predator that could chase you down. The sheer weight of its skeleton acted as ballast, keeping it stable in the shallow, turbulent coastal waters where it lived. Imagine watching it approach. The water displacement alone would create waves that toss you around like a toy. This creature's mass would generate currents powerful enough to pull you toward it involuntarily. You'd feel the suction of water rushing past you as the whale opened whatever feeding mechanism it possessed. And here's where our scenario takes a fascinating turn. The researchers didn't recover the skull or teeth of Perucetus colossus. Without these crucial pieces, we can't know exactly what its mouth looked like or how it fed. But based on its known characteristics, scientists have developed 3 hypotheses about its diet, and each one tells a very different story about what would happen to you. Hypothesis 1. Perucetus was an herbivore, feeding on seagrass and marine plants like modern manatees. If this were true, the whale would have had flat grinding teeth and a relatively small throat. You'd be too large to swallow and, frankly, not appetizing. The whale would likely ignore you completely or accidentally bump into you with the force of a freight train. Given its extreme weight, even an accidental collision could be fatal. Those dense, heavy bones moving through water would be like being hit by a slow-moving submarine. Hypothesis 2, and perhaps more likely, Perucetus fed on small mollusks and crustaceans on sandy ocean bottoms, similar to how modern gray whales feed. Picture this whale descending to the seafloor, its massive body displacing thousands of gallons of water. It would use some kind of filtering or suction mechanism to hoover up bottom-dwelling creatures. If you found yourself in front of this feeding apparatus, you'd be drawn toward its mouth, along with tons of sediment, shells, and small prey. But here's the critical question. Could it actually swallow you? Modern gray whales have relatively small throats despite their enormous size. They're designed to filter small prey, not consume large objects. If Perucetus had a similar anatomy, you might be pulled into its mouth but become stuck in its throat or filtering system. The whale would likely expel you violently, along with a massive torrent of water and debris. You'd survive the swallowing attempt, but the experience of being sucked into a mouth the size of a small room and then forcefully ejected would cause serious injuries from the pressure changes and physical trauma. Hypothesis 3 is perhaps the most unsettling. Perucetus was a scavenger of vertebrate carcasses. Imagine this enormous creature gliding along the ocean floor, searching for dead whales, large fish, or other marine animals. Its sense of smell would lead it to decomposing bodies, which it would consume. If this were true, the whale might have had teeth or baleen capable of tearing apart or filtering larger chunks of organic matter. In this scenario, if Perucetus mistook you for part of a carcass, or if you were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, you could potentially be consumed. Let me paint you the picture of what that would actually mean. The mouth opens. You're pulled inside by the rush of incoming water. Darkness engulfs you immediately. The temperature drops as you're surrounded by tons of flesh and muscle. If Perucetus had baleen like modern filter feeders, you'd be pressed against bristly plates, trapped in a prison of keratin and tissue. If it had teeth, well, your chances of survival would end right there. Assuming you somehow made it past the mouth intact, you'd enter the esophagus. For a creature of this size, the esophagus would be enormous by our standards, perhaps several feet in diameter. You'd be sliding down a muscular tube, squeezed by peristaltic contractions designed to move food toward the stomach. The pressure would be immense. You'd struggle to breathe in the confined, oxygen-depleted space. Then you'd reach the stomach. Cetacean stomachs are complex, typically divided into multiple chambers. The first chamber would be where the real digestion begins. Gastric acids with a pH low enough to dissolve bone would start breaking down anything organic. The temperature inside would be around 37 to 40 degrees Celsius, roughly 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The smell would be beyond description, a mix of decomposing matter, digestive enzymes, and biological waste. Here's where I need to share something important with you. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly someone who loves diving deep into scientific scenarios. There's so much more we're going to explore about prehistoric ocean life, and honestly, your engagement helps us create better content. Take a second to hit that like button. It tells us you want more of these detailed scientific explorations. Now, how long could you survive inside? The human body can't withstand gastric acid for long. Within minutes, you'd experience severe chemical burns on any exposed skin. Your clothes would provide minimal protection. The lack of oxygen would be the more immediate threat. You'd lose consciousness within a few minutes from asphyxiation. Death would follow shortly after, mercifully before the digestive process could cause prolonged suffering. But let's consider something that makes this scenario even more complex. Remember those extraordinarily dense bones we discussed? The pachyosteosclerosis that made Perucetus so uniquely heavy? This adaptation served a specific purpose. In shallow, turbulent coastal waters, a heavy skeleton provided stability, acting as biological ballast. The whale could maintain its position near the seafloor without being tossed around by waves and currents. This tells us something crucial about where you'd encounter Perucetus. You wouldn't find this whale in the deep ocean. You'd meet it in coastal shallows, perhaps only 30 to 100 feet deep. These would be murky, sediment-rich waters with limited visibility. The encounter would happen fast, with little warning. The density of the whale's skeleton also means something else. If Perucetus accidentally struck you while feeding or moving, the impact would be catastrophic. Imagine being hit by an object that weighs as much as 2 blue whales, moving even slowly through water. The kinetic energy would be enormous. Your body would suffer massive blunt force trauma instantly. In many scenarios, you wouldn't survive long enough to worry about being swallowed. Let's talk about a real historical case that might shed light on our hypothetical scenario. In 1891, a whaler named James Bartley allegedly survived being swallowed by a sperm whale. According to the story, he was found unconscious inside the whale's stomach after it was killed and processed. His skin was reportedly bleached white by the gastric juices. However, modern historians have largely debunked this tale as maritime legend. The reality is that no verified case exists of a human surviving being swallowed by any whale species. The anatomy simply doesn't support it. Most baleen whales have throats too small to swallow a human. Toothed whales like sperm whales could theoretically swallow a person, but the digestive process would be rapidly fatal. What makes Perucetus different? We don't know its exact anatomy, but we can make educated inferences. Its lifestyle as a slow-moving, possibly bottom-feeding creature suggests it wasn't designed to consume large, struggling prey. The extreme weight that made it stable in shallow waters would also have made fast, aggressive feeding behaviors energetically expensive and unnecessary. Here's the twist that changes everything about our scenario. Based on all available evidence, you probably couldn't be swallowed by Perucetus colossus even if you tried. The real danger wouldn't come from being eaten. It would come from the sheer physical presence of the largest animal ever to exist. Think about modern whale watching. When a 40-ton humpback whale breaches near a boat, the displaced water can swamp smaller vessels. Now multiply that mass by 8 or more. A single movement from Perucetus could create a wave capable of capsizing ancient boats or sweeping coastal dwellers out to sea. The downdraft created when it dove could pull you underwater. The updraft when it surfaced could launch you into the air. Those dense bones that made Perucetus so stable also made it incredibly dangerous. A tail strike from a modern humpback whale can be fatal. A tail strike from Perucetus, with bones potentially twice as dense and heavy, would be like being hit by a wrecking ball underwater. There would be no survival, no dramatic escape, just instantaneous trauma. And yet, here's what's truly fascinating. Perucetus colossus lived approximately 39 million years ago, during a time when Earth's oceans were warmer and sea levels were higher. This was an era of evolutionary experimentation among cetaceans. These marine mammals, which had only recently evolved from land-dwelling ancestors, were still diversifying into various ecological niches. The discovery of Perucetus reveals that cetaceans achieved peak body mass about 30 million years earlier than scientists previously thought. Before this discovery, the blue whale held the unchallenged record as the largest animal ever. But Perucetus potentially surpassed it, not in length, but in sheer weight. This suggests that gigantism in whales has evolved multiple times through different pathways. The extreme skeletal mass of Perucetus suggests that evolution can generate organisms with characteristics beyond our imagination, as lead researcher Giovanni Bianucci noted. This whale represents a completely different approach to being large. Modern blue whales are massive, but relatively lightweight for their size, with skeletons designed for open ocean speed and efficiency. Perucetus was essentially the opposite. Smaller in length, but vastly heavier, built for stability rather than speed. What can this tell us about survival strategies in ancient oceans? The Eocene epoch, when Perucetus lived, was a time of significant climate change. The Earth was cooling, and ocean temperatures were dropping from their peak warmth. Some scientists speculate that the extreme bone density and potential for fat storage in Perucetus might have been early adaptations to cooling seas. Blubber provides insulation, and at 39 million years ago, we might be looking at evidence for the origin of blubber in cetaceans. If you're wondering what other incredible prehistoric creatures we'll explore, drop a comment below. What extinct animals should we cover next? Your suggestions directly influence what content we create, and honestly, some of the best ideas come from you, the viewers. So go ahead and share your thoughts. The story of Perucetus colossus is far from complete, researchers are still working in the Ica Desert of Peru, searching for more fossils that might reveal additional details. They're looking for the skull, which would definitively answer questions about how it fed. They're searching for more complete skeletons that might tell us about its reproductive biology, its lifespan, and its behavior. Every new fossil discovery has the potential to rewrite our understanding. Maybe we'll find evidence that Perucetus was even larger than current estimates suggest. Or perhaps we'll discover it was more common than we thought, with populations spread across ancient coastal waters worldwide. The Ica Valley has already yielded other remarkable cetacean fossils, including Prehistoric pacificus, the oldest four-legged whale to reach the Pacific Ocean, and Leviathan melvillei, a giant predatory sperm whale. So what if you were swallowed by the largest whale of all time? The answer is complex and perhaps counterintuitive. You probably wouldn't be swallowed at all. Perucetus Colossus, despite being the heaviest animal in Earth's history, likely wasn't capable of consuming prey as large as a human. Its probable diet of bottom-dwelling invertebrates or scavenged carcasses, combined with its slow swimming speed and coastal habitat, suggests an animal that was more gentle giant than fearsome predator. But that doesn't mean an encounter would be safe. The sheer mass of this creature, those incredibly dense bones, and the powerful currents it generated simply by existing, would make it one of the most dangerous animals you could encounter. Not because it wanted to hurt you, but because the laws of physics don't care about intentions. When you're dealing with an animal that weighs as much as 5,000 people, even passive interactions can be lethal. The legacy of Perucetus Colossus extends beyond questions of survival. This whale represents a peak of biological engineering that nature achieved once and never repeated. In the 39 million years since Perucetus lived, no animal has matched its combination of size and density. The blue whale grew longer and mastered the open ocean, but it never achieved the same massive weight relative to its size. Evolution took a different path. This reminds us that the history of life on Earth is filled with experiments, some successful, some that led to dead ends, and some that were so spectacular they existed briefly and then vanished, leaving us to wonder what might have been. Perucetus Colossus had its moment in evolutionary time. It ruled the coastal shallows of an ancient ocean, a living mountain of flesh and bone, perfectly adapted to its world. And then it was gone. Climate change, shifting ocean currents, competition from other species, or simply the randomness of extinction. We don't know what ended the reign of Perucetus. What we do know is that it left behind enough fossils for us to reconstruct its existence, to marvel at what was once possible, and to ask ourselves, what if? What if we could see these oceans as they were? What if we could witness the moment when Perucetus descended to feed, its massive body creating a temporary underwater eclipse? What if we understood the full scope of biodiversity that ancient Earth supported, the strange and wonderful creatures that lived and died long before humans walked the planet? These questions drive paleontology forward. Every fossil is a window into a lost world. Every new discovery reshapes our understanding of what life can be. And every what-if scenario, like the one we've explored today, helps us appreciate the magnificent diversity of life across deep time. So no, you wouldn't want to be swallowed by Perucetus Colossus, but you might want to witness it from a safe distance, to see with your own eyes the largest animal that ever existed, moving through ancient waters with the weight of impossibility made flesh. That would be worth the journey back through 39 million years. That would be worth everything.